Hey, Bri, doesn't it suck that the boss is always over our shoulder when we're trying to talk?
Jay, he should be entertained by us. Let's get out of here and finish this conversation.
All right, as long as it's not work related.
Jay!
B!
How's it going?
Well, thank God we got all that work-related stuff out before we started the work-related podcast. I'm doing good, man.
I want to welcome everyone to the Work-Related Podcast.
We are related by work, I think, on X still. And you know what, man? I had something to post and I didn't do it.
The castle?
Yeah, I have the fucking castle. I was gonna. Apologies for not being here last week.
Oh, yes.
That sucks. I always hate when nothing's going on.
A morbid situation, is that how you say it?
Yeah, shit. How's Selena? How was that? Like, I know Selena lost a grandmother,
It was
right?
all right. It was very French, so
That's crazy.
You know,
They're very French, right?
they are very French.
But it was. She lived. It was in Ontario.
Yeah, it was in Welland, French, pretty French town.
Is it?
French church?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like, actually, you know what's pretty crazy? So, Selena's grandmother's 100 years old.
Yeah, that's
99
crazy.
would have been 100 in December. She had I met this guy there. He's from Quebec. He's also very French.
Makes sense.
Right. And I think the story I heard from Selena was that he was like adopted or something and her grandmother kind of raised him type of a thing. And so he came down to go visit. And then we were talking about work and stuff. And like, so it was me, Selena's brother, Selena's dad. Selena's brother's a welder in Alberta. Selena's dad works on the pipelines as well. But he does like something to do with like pumping water out of like reservoirs and like, removing water. Yeah, it's that complicated shit for real. And I'm like, okay, so we were all talking about work and I'm talking about how Selena's like, yeah, Brian's the supervisor now. And I was like, yeah, it's like, the one thing you don't really realize you deal with is like the bullshit of dealing with like people and whatnot. And so that conversation kind of died down after a while. We were talking about harassment and like the new age stuff. And then the guy started talking about, like, he's like, yeah, I completely get what you mean. Like he was in the military. And he was like, yeah, he's like, when I started to move up in rank and you just start to see dealing with other shit was like so much harder. We're like, oh, so how long were you in the military? Oh, he joined at 17. He got out in 1996.
How old? Like, I don't know.
He's like 70.
Holy shit.
Right?
So that was his whole career.
His whole career was in the military. He said when he was 17, he was driving on the streets of Berlin. On a tank. He was a tank. He was in the tank. So like he was over there. He was in Russia. He was in NATO for a while doing like a whole bunch of NATO and like peacekeeping missions. And he was saying how like the UN would like hire NATO soldiers to like escort people on like peacekeeping missions, but they weren't like allowed to like fire back and stuff like that. Like he was like so many times like you would get fired at, and every time a shell hits a tank, because like the tanks they had were generally stronger than the opposition, whoever it was. Like one of the times he said they were dealing with the Serbs. They were like raping a lot of villages and pillaging and stuff like that. And so anytime they would come through, they would just fire on them. But they didn't have the greatest equipment, but it felt like a near-death experience.
Of course.
It's crazy. You really feel like you're going to die and you can't do anything about it when you're on the UN. So what would happen is they would go back and then they would get reassigned back to NATO and go back and deal with the issues.
Oh, with the UN not involved.
Yeah, with the UN not involved. He was in Switzerland. He was stationed in Canada in some places and stuff. Like he was telling me like all these crazy stories. He's like how you could Selena's brother asked like how far could you guys shoot back then like in a tank? He's like you could shoot like what did he say? 4 kilometers?
Wow.
Right?
Do you think they have like, so just, I mean, my picture, I don't know modern equipment, right? Like the most modern equipment is like airplane, like military airplanes, right? Like you see these like Firefox things where you can just like think of what to do and like the targets, you see all the, like, from the first Iraq war, right? Like bombing shit with this like laser, like these pinpoint kind of things, stuff, right? Yeah. But I think of a tank as just a box. Like you don't think of all this like electronic equipment in there. So it must be. Yes. They must have the same kind of like accuracy, like they quote unquote accuracy.
It's crazy because I was like, well, I've heard of like snipers shooting like a kilometer or 2 kilometers and like how they have to like angle and do math, because sniping is not like video games where you hold the gun up and you just shoot.
Or even an electronic target. Right?
Yeah,
like the electronic target would factor in the wind.
And so he's like, he's like, yeah, they would do what the snipers would do, would calculate like the movement of the earth, because the earth is moving, so it's
I've heard
not the
something like
same, the wind and like how they
Movement
would
of the
stuff.
earth.
And he's like, so once they get that dialed in, then you can somewhat point and shoot and whatnot. But you can't do that just by picking up that guy's 200 meters and just shoot him. Like, well, 200 meters is close. But like, you know what I mean? So he was saying in tanks back then is what they would have is a laser. So they would see and they could zoom into the target and they would see their target. They would hit it with a laser and it would come back with the calculations of like what elevation you need to raise and stuff
Can
like
the laser
that.
measure the wind?
No, he said wind you have to
Okay.
calculate on your own.
Okay.
But yeah, but he said now the tanks now are way crazier. Like
Yeah, I bet.
they'll account for the wind and the rotation of the earth. They will raise the muzzle for them now. The tank, what do they call that?
The fucking arm, the
yeah.
gun, the cannon.
So it automatically raises
Yeah.
so that they can do all that. Crazy. And he was saying like how he was talking about like the different type of tank rounds. He's like, there's this tank round that we would use that you would shoot. It was like what are they,
Incinerate?
whatever it is. It would basically shoot, and he's like, you would never really know what happens to the tank because you would think that there's no damage, but everybody inside would be burned alive,
Oh, God.
except for the driver, because the driver's in a different compartment, and
What?
you would aim for the turret part of the tank. So the turret part has like the
Turret.
gunner,
Yeah.
has like the captain, whoever's in charge, and it has like a navigator or something. And he's like, they would all die. So sometimes you would see the driver like come out afterwards because it's hot. Obviously, it's on fire, and he would come out. You'd be the only one to survive.
Oh, God. Would
Isn't
they
that
shoot
shit
him? Would they
crazy?
fucking like snipe him from
He
4
never
kilometers
got it.
away?
He never got into that one. He never said anything about
That's
that.
a NATO problem.
But it's crazy because when I first saw him sitting down, he was just like, he's like 70 something. He's like skinny and like he seemed very polite, very French and stuff. And I was
French.
looking at him.
Those don't go together, polite and
And
French.
he was right.
Sorry.
And he has his shirt on. And he's like, and then I seen like he had like so many tattoos under his arm. Like, is this guy like freaking Quebec, close to Montreal? Maybe he's like in the mob or some
Fucking
shit.
Hell's Angels.
Right? Like you start to think, and then he says he was in the army. You're like, oh,
That's why there's a lot. I think. Well, Hell's Angels started with vets.
Yeah.
like they came back. Like they wanted that freedom. Like it wasn't that they wanted to keep killing.
No.
but the rest of society and the hierarchy of a fucking retarded president and this guy being a bot, like they just can't handle it.
Yep.
Like you have to handle lots of incompetence that is thrown at you. Even people that should know better are being incompetent with the way they should handle
Absolutely.
things in our 45-minute pre-fucking conversation with work-related stuff that we can't get into.
Yep.
So I can't imagine once you're in that world, like we brought up before, like, oh, military like sounds good to you, like,
Yeah.
but just the structure of it.
Mhm.
If that's your career, like, how do you, like, it must be so hard to not like let real world life,
Oh.
like how ridiculous it is.
Could you imagine?
Well, that's why even people like, well, one of the quotes I've heard is like, the worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. And if that's why you don't know what privileged life you have, if your worst life is being in a car accident or
Yeah.
having trouble at work, when like, yeah, you know, the worst thing I was when, should I kill this guy that came out of a tank
Yeah.
that we just blew up?
Yeah.
Like for no reason other than he's an enemy. Like he's not going to hurt the war, but he's an enemy. Like you're
Yeah.
like that's
It's
a fucking,
also you.
that's and then that's a whole other philosophical problem, right? Like so that's not even his worst day.
Yeah.
His worst day is driving through. He's like, oh, don't worry about these bullets hitting us. They're just, you know what I mean? They're just Serbs. They don't have anything. Like
Yeah.
until one day the Serbs get a hold of a fucking Russian rocket.
Well, it was Serbian tanks.
But that's what I mean.
But
so
yeah, it's crazy. Like,
but yeah.
imagine you're like, I was looking at him like, you must be freaking has some sort of PTSD. You're sitting there with your legs crossed and talking about this like it's freaking breakfast.
But I mean, I would hope that's what like. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm more the type that just like balls it up and or like holds it in and finds friends like you to lay shit out on or whatever. But by the time he's 70 and like that, like he's might have figured out a way to live with it.
Yeah.
Like in TV shows and stuff, in that Lioness and that somehow like. At one point, she has to tell her daughter sees her put a gun in her back. Like, you're a translator, mom. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I just, protection, this and that. Like, there's no way for her to explain what her job is.
Yep.
She's whining about this and that, and she's had to decide if, you know what I mean, her special operator is going to die on a suicide mission.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, and whatever. So, like, these real, but that's like, like the price of our freedom, like again, like I don't want to be in charge of it. I mean, I don't respect it enough. Like I don't have this kind of conversation or whatever. But a guy like that, I would assume if I'm me in a bitter angle that I like to take about, I'd be like fucking just grinding my teeth, 70-year-old, just like fucking these young kids with their phones. They have no idea what was sacrificed. My brothers I've lost and all that. But at some point you have to let it go.
Yeah.
At some point you have to let go of control. At some point you just have to let these, you know what I mean? Like these fucking, I'm sure he doesn't like any leader, never mind Trudeau or whatever, like kind of things. Just like, what have I fought for all these lives that you're just giving away, or however they see it?
Yeah, he seemed very fond of Jean Chrétien.
That's hilarious.
He was like, yeah, that guy, that was a real prime minister.
What a conversation.
Right,
so I remember, John, I fucking hate it. Like,
really?
As entitled as you think Trudeau is or anything, he just felt the same way. Like they all, if you don't like them, they all give off this fucking sense of entitlement or who are you to make these decisions for me as a country? But like
in the moment you're talking about, right?
Yeah, like I don't care about it even like now. Like again, like even this. Well, the hardest part comes when you have like a Trump or Biden. It's like, fuck, I don't want to step up for any of these people, right? And then like, yeah, you want to be on the fuck Trump the whole time.
We're having that right now.
But then you say, fuck Trump, but then somebody comes and says, yeah, but like the way he dealt with China or Korea, like that wasn't too bad. Like, are you going to stick to your guns, or are you going to say, yeah, you know what, I like my leader to say something like that? You know what I mean? Like sure. USA first or whatever it is. Like, it gets lost in a racism thing or an idealism or who he is, right? And when it comes to like a Donald Trump, it just becomes so polarizing that I don't want to, even if you know there's a compliment to give, I don't want to give you this compliment. Not like, worst if he hears it and runs with it and go, yeah, look at this guy. This guy's my friend. He loves my stance on China. But it's so more complicated than that. Like, that's why the leaders will never win. Like, that's why when you're talking about work stuff, like we joke that you're not a welder anymore and you're a supervisor. And we don't joke about like you have more welders than we do on the daytime now. And this, delicate, the amount of personality that is dictating what happens instead of like facts or you not wanting your opinion to be like you putting your foot down, stepping a boundary that was over somebody that was your superior.
Yeah.
But I want you to look at now, and is just like, yes, that is all true, and yes, there's a position he has his hand on the schedule and all that, but they've given you 9 welders. You can't treat it like you're babysitting 3 welders anymore. Like when I was trying to start, like I know you agree. So you have a little power, but you still have this. I can't do anything about it. I've tried to show you an example of what you could do about it. You think, that's good. And this is like the micromanage. That's something you control. You can't control who's going to run the leader, or Chrétien or Trudeau and all that. And we don't give up. We're just citizens. We pay our taxes. Like if you've sacrificed your life to be in the military, like then you could be like, I think have more of a right to speak out.
Yeah.
But by the time you're 70, you would hope that you would have realized that I can't do anything about it. Like I just gotta like you know what I mean? Like just accept things. I don't know. Just accept change. Just accept that you're not gonna like everything, and just change it. So this guy can't change like affect his environment with like Chrétien and how, or the kids with their phones. I'm just guessing all that stuff, and what he's had to see. But he can only just accept it. And if you don't accept it, you're just going to be a bitter old man.
That's true.
Right? Like for him to be calm and you're like, wow, I don't get that. I mean, that's a great quality, a trait that I would like to have.
At that age, with the shit he's been through, being from Quebec, you know, those guys are.
It's, like I do see why you would like that military thing. And also I give people this, like, if you're willing to go through the shit they're going to put you through, right? Like it's not even like hazing. It's almost like it's like the boot camping and all that. They have to rule out the weak. Like mandates to have a certain amount of women or a certain amount of this or a certain amount of that in there. Like it's good for society, but like we still need to make the strongest team possible. And so like only the strongest women should survive. Like through a train. I'm just guessing. You know what I mean? Like sure, there's women there that are more badass than a lot of high percentage of the men, but you don't just make it 50-50 for the sake of a stronger man for the like woman. Make the women step up and show that they are just as capable. Absolutely. And many do. Yeah. And that's just naturally thing that kind of happens. And that's just like, you get to put them through that adversity before you can find out how they're going to treat in the real world, because the real world consequences are so bad.
Yeah.
What I find that's a little similar with your work thing is that like you were trained in a certain way. You were trained a little bit to be a lead hand and a little bit of that. And then you were just given like you were just thrown out there like a fucking hot air balloon, right? And you have to just go. They trust your opinion. You have to know they trust your opinions, even when it comes to you giving Booby too much power. In a way, if you want to say that, but it was earned. Like he was the king of those fucking USB trucks, and like it's really hard to watch him with a certain sense of entitlement that he might not really deserve, but it's what the situation dictates, like calls for
sure,
right? And so that, you know what I mean, is how you can live with that like situation. That's why you can be more of that 70-year-old dude, like calm down. Yeah, you know what? Like it's so hectic to get all these new guys going, does it? But I give Booby this thing, and I know to trust him. I know nobody else can, but me and him have this relationship. You've empowered him with that, and it's come with great results. When that gets fucked with because he can't get along with other people, or he, you know what I mean, like wrongfully fucking goes over supervisors' heads, and he's his own worst enemy in a lot of ways. But he's just so impulsive. Like we understand why he's like he is, and we're willing to help him get over it or whatever for the cause. And so I try to tell you, so it's like, like that's your best angle of that is creating your own, like, you have to, it's not stepping on toes. It's just, you are now the runner of that shift. You're the colonel. You can make it, I want you to make it more militarized, right? Like this funny because you Jones for that, and you aren't because of the other, like the commanders. But what I'm saying is the commanders now have left you in Serbia, right? Like they've shown you how to drive a tank. They've shown you who to, try to do this, do that. Oh, hey, this guy says he can, like pull the trigger really good and get into like, hey, you know what? I was here when he's gone. He didn't hit shit. He's hit a couple of trees. He blew up a school. Like, I don't want him to do that again. And then, so you could just have some guy that's way out of touch, like doesn't care, just say, yeah, you know what? A couple schools have to go before, like go. And then you could be like, that's the most retarded thing I've ever heard. Yeah. Right? Like a real leader would just like, okay. And then when you're in the fucking field, just say, A and B, you're switching. Yeah. Like you're gonna look at the map and he's gonna hold the trigger. Yeah. Oh no, fucking Colonel fucking Bragg said, don't worry, when a school comes along, I'll get you on. Don't worry, we won't fucking pass this. He jumps out with his own gun and shoots the school. Like, so you know what I mean? Like you can't control that. Yeah. Right? Like that's how you can control that. And then you could be worried, okay, well, what happens when we come back in the mission briefing? Real people, when they delegate leaders, that's why they have those mission briefings. They don't know to expect whatever's going to happen. Even when they have satellite cameras and they're showing the bad guys running around the whole complex and they're, what are they doing? They're not the fucking soldiers coming on the beach. Yeah. Right? Like they've trusted that to them. They come in and remember like in the show where she let some of her team do something in Texas. And like, how stupid are you? You're caught on the border. Like you blew up a fucking house in Texas. Like, you could have put the CIA or whatever, it's just a story, in trouble. And they're just going, yeah, but we did it because of this reason. She's like, they're your guys. Yeah. And then but you're using my guys. You know what I mean? Like, like, so they don't let her get off of it scot-free, but they also know like, hey, you know what I mean? Like there's a bigger thing here that we didn't know about. For sure. They didn't have their eyes open. They didn't know about it. They let their team, just like you. So you come in and just like you've had issues where like shit was bailed wrong because you just let like the daytime supervisors say what should happen. Say, what can I do? And I just told you what you could, like I gave you a situation where you could do. It's like, yeah, but this guy doesn't want, but it doesn't matter. They're letting you go with your troops into the middle of Serbia. And what happens out there is up to you. And so when I was glad you heard it, it's like, that's how you can make it more militarized. You say, worst thing could happen, your supervisor comes in and is angry that you didn't do everything that he said. And then you can say, yeah, but did you realize it was going to, like, you know what I mean? Like, we were going to, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to come up to a school. You didn't see that school coming, you know what I mean? Like, so we had to divert from there. Oh, I'm just guessing. Oh, I didn't know that. Because these people have gone through it too. You need to, it's funny. It's weird for me to have to give you moments of, like, to stand up for yourself, you know what I mean? Or whatever, right? Like, you're very, you don't seem to need that. But then how
Sometimes
do I know?
I do.
Yeah, I think everybody needs everything. Yeah, for right? Sure. Like that's silly for me to assume, I shouldn't say that to him. He would know that, right? He's a strong-willed guy. He knows his opinions like matter. He knows how well thought he is. But no, you don't. Like you do, but then hearing it out, it's like, hey, you know what? That's not the worst thing to do. Yeah, you know what? That's what I want to do. And like I said, like you're not a welder, you're a supervisor. You do all this fucking training shit. And now I think this is part of the babysitting part. And anything you're going to do is for the greater good of the schedule, just like the greater good, like of the military thing. And like, that's why it works out. But I don't know how to just totally change this. I'll get to this, the special ops for TV or whatever, but this is what I thought that you might like unions. Like I watched I don't even think it might be Chinese ever since I watched that fucking Young Attorney show, I get
Oh,
all
yeah?
these weird fucking
Yeah.
thumbnails on my Netflix,
They're
right?
like, you might like this.
Yeah, that's right. And so I watched this documentary called American Factory. I think I brought it up a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I was watching it, and it's a Chinese factory that took over a Dayton, Ohio, a GM plant that closed in 2012, started in 2016, and them. I don't even know why they would want to, right? But them try to vitalize the community or do it, right? But it's I'll butcher the thing, but you should try to watch it, but you won't. But anyway, American Factory documentary, and it's half in Chinese, and so this rich Chinese guy. Right from there, he starts up. It's an auto glass factory, so they're just building windshields, rear, like all this. So boring, so fucking boring. When you see the Chinese factory, it's just this huge facility, and they're like it just runs smooth. With like when you first see it, even at the end, there's not a lot of automation. There's like some machines and some certain things, but it's fucking people digging through the recycled glass with no. When the Americans go over there, they don't even have glass cutting proof gloves, right? Like, and that's at the bottom of the barrel. Like that's just where the recycled broken glass goes, and because the colored glass is more valuable than the others, and so they have people doing meaningless, thankless jobs or like low whatever, like fucking I can't think of the word I'm thinking, but low ranking shit, and something that you just can't get. It made me feel like an entitled like a worker in a way. You know what I mean? Like. It made me complain less about my working situation to myself because like I don't realize how good I have it. First of all, I'm better than just working in a factory, like doing monotonous things. And I was the one that took control of that. So if you put yourself in that position, I don't have that much sympathy for you. If you're working at a bottle cap factory and you're still working at a bottle cap factory, all I do is bottle caps. You know what I mean? Like
you went from the red to the green.
You're almost sober. Oh, Sprite and Coke. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like it's so, I've never really had, I've had a little bit less of a respect for somebody that could do that type of thing for their whole life. I don't know. I mean, without going into it too much. Yeah. Right? Like, why do you not have more pride in what you might do for a living? Although I don't have, whatever. So you have more pride in what you do than I do, I think. But so with this Chinese guy, they're so much expected of their workers. I mean, I don't want to be stereotypical or, but we only know what we think we know. So when you see inside the factory, you see lots of people doing lots of things and they're so fast and they're doing that. And then you see them try to start up this American company and we're bringing jobs and we're doing this. And so that town's been without jobs for like 4 years at this point. They were making $30 an hour at the union for GM and they're doing that. And in my mind, like my $30 an hour job is like well earned. But if you're just fucking pressing buttons at GM or you're doing that, like you might be overcompensated for the job you might actually do. Yeah. And like, I don't think a company can sustain that kind of, it turned out the company cannot sustain that kind of fucking work. So by the time the glass factory comes, they're willing to take $12 an hour jobs. Mm-hmm. Right. And then there's me and then some of them raise the questions of unions. And then the Chinese like there's not even it's not happening. You know what I mean? Like we don't do unions in China. Like no, what are you talking about? And so they show them how to build this up. They have these American supervisors and a lot of American employees. Some Chinese employees come over here, and it starts to show how they're not like all the, like the Amish going on vacation, like seeing kind of freedom, but it's almost like that. Mm-hmm. Like they go to some guys, fucking farmlands, and they're like shooting guns, and they're driving ATVs, and like they can't shoot guns in China. Yeah. They're just like they're just like wow, like this level of freedom, and also a way of that they're saying like oh no, lots of struggles here. Like you think just like we're talking about with these arranged marriages, they think it's like the golden goose over here. Yeah, and just like like more problems that come with it and other things, right? But so it sees this interaction, but they're never living up to the Chinese factory, right? Like
in terms of production,
in terms of attitude, okay, like in terms of dedication to the company. They give a shot, like after some struggles and this is going on. And right from the get-go, when they start to say, well, is this going to be unionized? No. But inside, there's a lot of these GM companies, they see this factory, they know how badly it's run compared to how GM was. Mm-hmm. I don't know how great my position of being my job is because of unions before. My relationship with union isn't the greatest. I don't want to be in a union. Mm-hmm. I would never fight to be in a union. I hated the one place I worked that was a Canadian Auto Workers place, and it didn't have a great vibe to it. Mm-hmm. It really separated everybody from what individuals on the floor, especially from the floor to the management. Right? Like you live in this little limbo world now, but actually you're more management. But so when shit is not going well, the fucking big boss man comes and is like, fucking how you can't do this like that. Like you can't. And so he's really mad at the American way. Like he's like, these fucking fat, lazy Americans. Like, how does anything get done? Why did I do this? And so brings people over to China, and you see them talk to the Chinese workers. And this is where it's like, they go home, like they work fucking 12-hour days guaranteed. They work 7 days a week.
Damn.
Like they get like maybe 2 days off a month.
Yeah.
They talk about going home twice a year. Like these companies over there take over, it's the whole town. They went over there for some, maybe like a Chinese New Year celebration or like they had these, like they were trying to get the Americans to see how the factory was run. So a lot of the high-end management people were over there, and they had some kind of festival thing going on, right? It was like kind of new moon thing or whatever, but it's so, your life revolves around that company so much, right? Like like 6 people got married like at this event.
What the hell?
Because they go home. They live. It's like a military exercise. It's like they live in the company store. You know what I mean? Like on the company property. They do nothing but live, like, you know what I mean? Like work for that company. Like they have to be thankful for that. They send their money home. Like they all have kids and stuff. But like none of these people can just get married on the weekend. Like they have to wait till the festival and like bring their wife from however far away or whatever it is. Like
that's crazy.
It's insane. And so like you can see the Americans are like, this will never work here. Like this will never go here. And so I'm going to bounce around, but so they bounce around how these ideas are going to go. And and they're committed to try to get this work in America for whatever reason. And the longer it goes, the more the talk of we need a union here. Like the safety aspect comes, and they're getting us to work too much, and this and that. And so a lot of union talk goes, and you see people bullying people into joining a union. And they start bringing more Chinese workers over to mitigate that, to get what they want done properly. Eventually, they start to cut off the management and have Chinese management. And then they have these meetings. And so there's like a bit back and forth with the unions, and they try to tell them like they don't want one or talk, like, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know what the right is for you to want to start a union in a company like that I started. You know what I mean? Like I get it, like why I'm speaking to this not knowing why I don't have to work a fucking 7-day week and why it's only 8 hours or I get overtime after 44. Like this is all because of unions. I know that it was needed at a time, and it still might be needed now, but it's never been needed for me. So anyway, so these Chinese workers come over and they start to really resent most of the American stuff that want the union. They find them fucking lazy. They don't appreciate what they have. They also understand how much they sacrifice. But that's all they've ever known. Just like we never would do that because we've never known that. But that's all like you guys should be so happy. Never mind the concept of you should be happy you should have a job. Like, you know what I mean? Like they take that to the extreme. So they slowly start to get rid of so they have a union vote, and then they have anti-union people come in, and it's this whole kind of fucking mess. And the union never really succeeds. Like they don't never get enough votes. And the older people think like, yeah, these people don't know what a union could do for them and all that. And the really strong Chinese people really bristle at it, and they just find ways to get rid of you. Right. And they just like these people lose their jobs. They say, oh, they set me up to fail. Like 2 people are doing this job and I'm doing it by myself. So they can just say I'm not bringing up production and get rid of me for whatever reason. And once the Chinese management starts coming in, there's a lot less respect that in a way, they should have just been happy with what they had and maybe changed it. But the fact they pushed back so hard made them just double down on like, no, we'll just have people that we want here. Let's just get more younger people. Let's get rid of older people that don't need to be, you know what I mean? They're not fast enough. They're not good. And slowly but surely they start to have these conversations, like, again, because it's almost separate, and they have these Chinese management conversations. And one of the ones I totally remember was like you have to understand, this is the boss talking to the rest of these Chinese management teams. You have to understand these Americans, they're coddled from birth. This is how they start to talk. But this divide is in the factory. Like, you know what I mean? Like the Chinese factory starts calling the Americans the foreigners. Right? These foreigners in our factory. And they're the Americans.
And then they're in the United States.
Yeah, and they're in the United States. So they're saying like, yeah, they're coddled. Like they don't work with discipline. You get like, it's the opposite. He said like they only work with encouragement. Like they have all the confidence in the world, and that's why it's hard to argue with them. Right, like, and it's like that's why it's always confrontational, and confrontation will lead to less production. Like, how do we do it? Like, and then this is the worst. He said, among other things, but it's all insulting. He says, so you know when you're stroking a donkey, right?
This is the Chinese guy.
Yeah, this is a Chinese talking to other Chinese about how to deal with their American employee. So let me put this example to you. I'm not going to use an accent, but anyway, so he's like, so you stroke the donkey the way the fur goes, and the donkey loves it. You know what I mean? Do you feel good? What happens if you stroke the donkey the way the hair goes backwards? He's going to kick you. He's going to fucking fight you. He's going to hurt you. You're going to get nothing good out of this donkey. So you have to learn how to. He doesn't. Do you understand what I'm saying? And they're all nodding their heads. They do this, and so eventually, the half the factory gets replaced by machines.
Oh shit!
Like the union thing doesn't work. This is why I don't think it works in this day and age.
Yeah.
Because the Chinese start to like. So at one point, like whatever, the company starts. I guess this is at the end. They start making profits. But after a year or so, when the Chinese management comes in, they just start automating shit.
Mm-hmm.
They just over here, like part of the conversation when the big boss is walking, goes, "You over here, we used to have 4 people, but now we have this one machine." And so over here, yeah, we still got these guys, but I'm hoping by April they're gone. And by this, and then like and as blunt as that, with no care in the world. Like I'm not saying there was ever a solution. Like that's the thing. Like they were going to do that no matter what.
Yeah.
Once the automation became more available, or once they just decided like let's invest in these machines, like just like we never got it, but you had the welding arm for the doors, right? Like whatever came of it, that conversation happened, and it's only going to happen again, right? Like it's not, you know what I mean? Like whatever, why we don't have it isn't because they didn't want to try it out; it's for other logistics or whatever it is.
Absolutely,
but it's the beginning, right? And so, like. I'm not saying that's my whole reason of hating unions, but I don't know. Like, I'm guessing at the airport, have you ever dealt with unions at work?
We had unions at the airport.
Is that the only place?
That I can remember. Yeah.
So, I mean, I laid a lot out there. Like, what is your first opinion of unions? If I never,
I thought unions were good. When I started at the airport, there was no union, and it came in while I was there within my like first year. I guess they were having talks and discussions, and I voted for it. Right? Because I always thought, oh yeah, union's going to be great. It's going to be perfect. Sure, we're going to get more money because that's the angle they always pitch at you, right? So when we finally got the union in, everybody got raises, of course. And so there was like, it was all right. I randomly became a union rep because, like I said in our one of our previous episodes, I used to get written up all the time. And so one of the guys who was in the union was like, he just put me on the union rep list. He put me as a name on it. And I walked in one day and I saw my name up there and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm a union rep? Like what? And he said, listen, honestly, one of the better ways to protect you from getting fired for all your write-ups is to make you be a union rep. And I was like, oh, all right. He's like, but you're going to have to do some stuff. You're going to have to do this and do that. Like, you know, I had to represent people and whatnot. So in that general aspect, it was fine. They would do the union parties and they'd butter you up. You'd have open bar and stuff like that. But then when it came down to, and I started seeing people, they really had like it was like a group. It's like if you don't do what the union wanted you to do, then and you got in trouble, you would have been getting rid of. There's been so many guys. They say the union protects people and you can never get fired, but that's bullshit. They will work with the management to get rid of people that they don't think really fits in both of the people's things. And I've seen it multiple times. It wasn't like a one-off thing and I'm just drawing a conclusion from. It was like a regular thing. And people in the airport, like one of the head union reps was in the bag room. And he was just always in the bag room. He'd sit there. He'd watch his movies. He'd just chill out. He'd do a good job, but he would just chill out. And they were all Italian. He would just chill out. And so I would be like, he would say things like, you know, you can't go against the union. You can't go against us and stuff like that. And the management would be like, well, you can't go against us, you know, blah. But then one time I went to this meeting. And there was these guys, I think they got caught for like stealing stuff. They were like stealing stuff out of the cargo because the company I worked with did cargo and ground services for airplanes, right? So they got caught stealing like things from cargo. And there was just like this whole union meeting and we would sit down and talk about it. And people always think that the union and the company are against each other, but they just work together. That's literally what they do. And then they say, this guy's not good for this. There's nothing you can do. He's like, but don't worry. Call us and you can get your job back. This is what the union told him after. Call us. You can get your job back. Don't worry. Give it a couple months and you call us and we got you. Here's the number thing. This guy called for years and never got his job back. He never even got an answer. He said he left like hundreds of messages on the phone, never got an answer. So to answer your question, in the beginning, my thought process of unions were great. More money, job stability. And then by the end of it, that was what, 15 years ago? I would never
How long
vote
were
for
you
a
in the union for? How long did you stay there with the union?
I was at the airport for 4 years.
3 of it was union?
3 of it was union.
It's so I have the same feeling. Like I find it that when I worked with it, I did it for 3 months only at it was a truck building place. I've only ever built trucks, but it was it was all the way in fucking Scarborough. Like it was like an hour away, an hour and a half coming home Friday afternoon on the highway, and I didn't like it, but I just hated the separation. It felt like you worked for 2 different people.
Yeah.
Right? Like you had this union thing, and so you have these kind of guys that in my mind you're describing like the bags guys, just like is 100% union and has the power of that union, has this influential, like what, your management, like what, you're not with us.
Yeah.
Like we like you're not one of the guy, you're not one of the fucking the regular Joes. You know what I mean? Like who do you think you are? Like these people will run all over you if you don't let them do it. And like I say, like forgive me for not recognizing how this needed to be, like from the 20s on or whatever, right? Like how I see it. Like you're saying, like if I think it works. It's weird, like because you saw it from the beginning. Like I seen like the Canadian Auto Workers Union like established in this place, right? Like I don't, and this is not even as big as like a GM plant or whatever, right? But I seen this establishment in there, and it wasn't cohesive.
Yeah,
I just always felt this kind of aggression, not within like having to strike or whatever. Like it was a decent enough paying job.
Yep.
But like we found out, like our job's like, no, if you're just a good welder, like there's lots of jobs out there for you.
Absolutely.
Like if you want to go to the bottle cap factory, like you should not be protected.
Yeah.
Like not in a human way. Like I don't want to live in like, you know what I mean? Like no welfare state, you know what I mean? Like if you can't find a job or whatever it is, but you shouldn't be overcompensated because it's just like at the detriment of the company.
Absolutely.
Like we talked about like Apple having to change to the USB, like to USB-C. But like still part of me is like, I know it's so like it's such a societal thing, but it's like, how dare you tell me how to make my company? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if this plug is going to be the reason I fail, then it's on me. Right. Like, but like, I get it. You know what I mean? Like whatever compatibility, but part of it is still like, this is my private company.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so I could get to fucking make whatever plug I want. And so it's still to get it. And that's when a union comes in and says, oh no, you can't do it. Like, and workers' rights and all that. Like I do realize that I don't know how to do it, but as a personal employee, I hated working for 2 different people. As much as it was heard, I didn't feel my individual needs can get heard.
I didn't feel much safer.
Dude, it's like, I think that's a false promise.
Yep.
I think it's an intimidation factor. Like that's what you like Jimmy Hoffa, like Teamsters, like this is always intimidation.
Yeah.
Right? Intimidating the company. This is at first, a world strike, and none of us will make anything if you don't do it. It's like, well, why do you have to get to that? Oh, that's the only way things get done. And I fucking hate strikes, about like teacher strike, like any of these things come up.
So
like
annoying.
city workers, like, oh, we need to like $35 to catch fucking garbage.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you. Right? Like and so when they end up fucking droning the fucking garbage because it's fucking easier, like I'm not gonna have sympathy for the fucking garbage men that are at work.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't want to do it, but fuck, you know what I mean? Like maybe that's how you get them to do it, but you're just a bottle cap factory worker. You know what I mean? Like you mean more because I want my garbage taken out more than I need bottle caps or whatever. But in my mind, unions are part of the problem. It's greedy owners that went to India and China for fucking like all this like work loss.
Absolutely.
Right? Like why the fucking like this factory was closed in the first place. But it's part of that. But it's also part of the unions pushing too much. Like if you're getting $35 an hour for a job that really is only fucking 20. Then that is only sustainable for so long. Like that's a false promise that the union is giving you.
Well, the unions, that's their business model too. People don't really realize that is a business in itself.
True.
You're working for a company just to work for another company who's trying to pull at it. When I was at the sign place, the last place, there were notices on the wall about, we hear discussions about bringing a union into this company, and we feel like, because the owner was pretty involved in the job, and it was like a pretty big big-ish small business,
Sure.
like maybe 100 mil a year type of a thing.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So there would be like notices on the wall, and he'd be like, "We feel like we provide fair wages," which is debatable. They provided like our company does now. It was like fully paid benefits. They did like regular party thing. It was basically like a bigger Wilcox.
Yeah.
But a little more structured, a little more organized and whatnot. But it was basically Wilcox just a little magnified. And I remember when I first saw the sign, because I was there for 2 years, a year and a half, I don't know, something like that. And I remember when I first came in, there was none of that. But in the first couple months, those signs were, and then people would talk about that they tried to get it in before and it failed, right? And I remember when I first saw the sign, I said, I would never fucking bring a union in here. What am I going to complain about? And it's like people want to find something to complain about. And that's how you get yourself in more trouble. That's how you find another problem when you don't really have that many problems. Like, we were paid okay, but you're gonna what? Bring a union in to go from 25 to 28, but pay $1.50 in union dues.
Listen, I know that from my own experience. When this documentary, when they're talking to people that were pro or for it, I found myself agreeing with the people that were just like, you know what? I know I'm a good employee. The union protects. I find the union protects bad employees more than it does raise good employees. I find that I wouldn't get my family situation that I get from my work now without me being to go to management by myself.
Yeah.
If I demanded it from a union, they would be like, no, we have a contract.
Because it's a two-way street.
So the union stops that two-way street. You're right. They end up having a relationship with the fucking company.
There's a two-way street between them.
And you're left out of it. Like you've ceded control instead of ceding. Like, it's so easy to paint the owner as a greedy fuck that's trying to take advantage of you, and we're here to save you. But anybody that's promising you that it's something in it for them.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's not that it's so. But again, I every time I say that, I don't know what shoulders I'm standing on. But that's everything. Like, I get everything. I appreciate whatever that sacrifice was. I look myself more, not from trying to privileged position that I would ever own my own company or be that, but I try to look at myself as the owner of the company, not as how am I making this owner rich?
Yeah.
I look at this owner as giving me money.
You do want to do your part, because you're getting money for it.
I appreciate the effort.
I feel like unions make you feel like that having a job is a right as opposed to like a privilege, or you have to actually work hard for these things. It's like, no, you have a job for sure, and we got you no matter what. And it's like, come on, man.
I find that, and without knowing anything I'm talking about, in Canada, with our socialistic like thing or whatever, like we do kind of have more of a government like fallback or whatever it is. It's not as the strong survive like the States, or you know what I mean? Like, I do think whatever our workers' rights that are here are written into some kind of government code. It's already, you know what I mean? Like, and that might be because of unions, right? But we don't get stepped on as much, right? Like it's we have some government contracts, and even if like a Rogers or these other big telecommunications things, whatever relationship that a lot of big companies have with the government here helps us as workers.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like, you look at it, like, that's what I'm saying. Even in China, when you look at this factory, you see that, and you know the concept of the government is on every, you know what I mean, like, company, right? Like, you can't be a millionaire in China without working with the government as well, right? And they kind of know what you're doing. I don't know how, but all those workers, they have to work way too hard to be in the position that they've earned. Like, that could be that's the example of this, like without a union presence, then we'd all be working 7 days a week, and you know what I mean, like, go home twice a week, like, but that's a country, like, again, all this I know, that's a country that's trying to lift itself out of poverty from like the 70s and 80s or even before, and that's why they're so prosperous. Like, there is no room like in that communism fucking like model or whatever, and it's kind of scary because how much the government can accomplish when you look at like how a nation is built,
right?
But this is what I love about, like, this is why I don't like you. I feel I'm protected enough if I prove my value.
Yes, exactly.
Like, and I'm not young and fighting. Like, I don't find that. I found that you're right. Like, you nailed it when you said, like, you find it's a right. Like, it's not a right to have a job.
No.
Like, it's never, and that's so arrogant to think of.
Yeah.
And that's what we never, and that's like, I think I'd be the same thing, but it's weird to experience it like a union starting and kind of liking it, and then not seeing it as what it's like. And me going into a place that oh, this is already established, but I still just don't like it. Like, and I'm not even like, I wouldn't even categorize myself as like that kind of a company guy, but I feel like, I don't know, it's my own, I'm the one who's responsible to show if I'm worth it or not.
Exactly.
But I've never worked at a big place like that where you can get lost.
Mhm.
And I don't, like I said, I just don't mind. I don't know. It was very interesting. And this is what I'm coming, like, this is where there's been conversation before, like how is AI and sorry, babe, I'm not getting into an AI conversation, but how AI and technology is going to replace us, right? Like, and how they talk about like universal basic income, because like in the next 10 years, like so many people are going to be out of jobs. This was the ultimate message of this is what the documentary, at first I thought it was about uplifting a community. Then I saw like, oh, the difference between China and America. And then, oh, like union talk. And then it became how the company gets rid of the unions is they just automate. And that's going to become way more of an option.
Robots don't vote.
Robots don't, you own the robot.
Yeah.
Like it's the new slavery.
Yeah.
Right? That's what some of those, like the AI conversation comes with that movie, The Creators. It's like we have rights too.
Yeah.
Like that's all it's going to lead to.
Yeah.
Right? And 23 is going to be like fucking listen to us or we're going to blow up the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because we're going to give them all that power. Just like they gave them all that power in the 60s, 70s. And then the answer to that was we're going to leave the country. And now they like the politicians are like, you know, bringing the jobs back, like, you know, lower pay, all that. We'll figure it out. It's more of a global community and China's uplift. So it's not as cheap to do it there anymore.
Yeah.
That's really the bottom line.
Yeah.
It's not quite as cheap to do it there anymore.
It's not worth
so
it.
let's, well, okay, we'll come back. Oh, I'll give you my jobs.
We don't got to do shipping.
Until they can replace whatever their fucking excuse. Right. But it's just them like that. And we don't have any control of that.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's a bigger global or like a global thought. But, I like the way you're thinking, like, too, like, just like, no, let me just prove my own worth. Let me just find what I want to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't like this job. I'll get another job. I'll like, who knew I can be a welder and do all these other things or whatever like that. So and we're like, they're not coming to take our jobs if we're good at our jobs.
Yeah.
Where you've looked at those robots and you've seen what they can do and all that, but they just don't get it right.
No.
Just like ChatGPT, it just doesn't quite get it right. And so, yeah, you can fearmonger, like they're going to replace us with all that, but not right away. No, not if you push them too hard, then this is what that'll accelerate that problem, right? Like by the time the robot, like everything gets taken over, it will be at the cost of fighting back too hard against it. Like, yeah, like even like a company that lets you work from home now. It's like, no, I need my company, I need my employees here. Yeah. Like, well, that's not an option anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We have to give you guys some days to work at home.
And you know, like that's what I mean. Like that's how society's moving in that direction. And so, you know what I mean? Like, what's a union going to, like, whatever, what something happens, like, you know what, situation rises, no, we need you to be here to push buttons. Well, I've been working from home for fucking years now. And my union says, this is my job, this is my right. It's like you know what I mean? It's like a rich wife or even a rich husband, you know what I mean? Like Britney Spears' husband is like, this is the life I'm accustomed to now. Yeah. You have to give me $150,000 a month for child support. Yeah. Like, wait a second, you don't do anything. Right? Well, I'm accustomed to this. Yeah. So a union could come and say, you know, our employees are accustomed to staying at home now. Well, I need, like, what can you do as a favor? Like, we work together here, right? Like, we need somebody to push buttons. Not our problem. Yeah. And then eventually they find somebody else and they'll figure a way to get you out. So, you know, that's why I feel like unions. I agree with you. I wouldn't want a union in our work, and I don't think it would work like out as well.
It would be freaking horrible. But you know what did work? Special Ops Lioness.
So did I hype it up too much?
Let's see.
Because you compared it to Homeland, and Tammy was like, "That's ridiculous."
Homeland is way better.
Oh.
Homeland actually has won awards. That's like it's actually known to be. It's actually known as a good show.
Okay,
that's the thing. But it's
Prime shows are slept on. So I don't.
Prime shows are slept on 100%. I like Prime. You know me. I like a whole bunch of shows.
Yeah. So just because it won awards isn't going to make me think it's automatically better.
No, but it is recognized. That's
I have to agree with you because it's known. Like I know that it was received as a good show.
You know the name. You know the thing. And you know, like, people came out of it. Guy went to billions.
But was it so networky?
No, it was not networky.
Yeah.
No.
Because you hate networky shows.
Yeah, I can't stand it.
Okay. Well, were you constantly comparing it to that ever since you told me that? Or did you watch it on its own?
So I did draw comparisons to it.
Okay.
But I didn't really compare, like, I can like both. You know what I mean?
That's good for you. Yeah.
So I liked it. Did you overhype? I don't know if you overhyped it.
I heard myself.
It's close to
What I said.
what you said, but that's because you didn't watch Homeland or didn't like Homeland. Either way,
I found the Lioness show was very intense at times.
it was.
I'm not even getting into the end. I don't even want to step on anything you said. Like, I don't know, but
No. It was very intense at times. That was one of the comparisons I think I brought to you, is that there was one intense scene and then I instantly compared it to Homeland and be like, well, this was done way more intense on that show compared to this. But I also like the fact it wasn't dragged out. You know what I mean?
True. Okay.
So yeah. So we watched it. We finished it. I think we binged the last couple episodes
That's a good sign.
at the end, right? And like, yeah, I liked it.
So-
I liked it. I'm waiting for season 2. I want to
So
know what they'll
at
do.
first, I didn't realize how much I liked her, like her family dynamic.
Yes.
Like her doctor husband is like a superstar to me. Like he let her just
Yep.
be her, and the way they tried to raise their daughters.
Yep.
Like, and the trauma that he has at his job is almost secondary, right? Like he's having to fucking get punched in the face
Yeah.
for telling these people they're, you know what I mean? Like, and that was never dragged out.
Yep.
They showed him do that once, and you knew that's the part of this
They
guy's
made
life.
you understand. Yes.
She comes home and says to the daughter that's acting like a little brat, "Do you realize what your fucking dad's day was today?" You know what I mean? And then she sarcastically plays up to him, and as she's, "Oh, daddy, I'm so sorry." So, and then she fucking smirks at her mom. Like,
How's
"See,
that
I can
for
play-"
love or whatever
Yeah, I
she
mean, it's
said,
like,
yeah.
how fucking dare you?
Yeah.
But that's just again not having. That's just a kid being a
That's
stupid
just a kid being a kid.
But I loved how they lived in their little dynamic. You know what I mean? Like they have to let themselves go. You know what I mean? Like a couple times he had to call her, and she's in the middle of a mission, and like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, that not unbelievable, but just like how much is on somebody's shoulder. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know what these people are going through when you just want to yell at them for fucking not turning fast enough at the fucking light or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so I really liked how they show how they can try to survive, these two totally different people, like try to, like, and strong individuals, but they make a great union.
Yeah.
They make a great
A
union,
union,
right? And to
yeah.
get the job done. And so, but even then, I'm like, spoiler alert, sorry, but the like, however the daughter started getting herself in trouble, right? It was just like, wow, you didn't see that coming. Like she was questioning his parenting techniques. It's like, you're not fucking here.
Yeah.
Like, you can't. And she's like, that's it. End of the conversation. You're right.
Yeah.
And then she's dealing with all this other stuff. She's fucking like has what she has. So for the whole show, I kind of like when that was like kind of thrown in there. Because I don't like military all the time.
Mhm.
So that was new to me because I don't watch those kind of shows. What I liked from the get-go, I liked her as the boss, but the soldier, the lioness,
Yeah.
like she was so badass, right? Like when they started out from her as her childhood as a teenager or whatever, becoming a soldier and just like gravitating to that,
Yeah.
like thriving under that structure and just kicking ass. Like anybody that came upon her, right? And then the torture they put her through to be that. But then she starts falling in love
Yeah.
with the bad guy's, wife to be or whatever.
Spoilers for anybody who's gonna watch it.
Yeah, cut her off. I don't know how long it would be, but
No.
well, I won't even try to do that because she wasn't conflicted in what she should do for her mission. But
Well, she did get conflicted
like, what do you mean?
in that moment. In the moment, she was saying, "Why do I have to do this?" Like he's an innocent, and that's when she brought the laptop on the plane and said, "Look, this is the person that you're dealing with.
Oh yeah.
Make sure you understand. I want you to watch this so you understand what, because of course you're gonna get jaded when you're doing something that intense and you're getting all these feelings.
I don't know.
and
So
whatnot.
jaded, but you lose sight of.
You lose sight of the mission.
Yeah,
How
you
about
lose
that?
sight of the overall thing. Like,
Yeah,
this is the complicated things of like people. You know what I mean? Like that. There's just people on the other end. Like this is. I'm not bother trying to tie it in with you, but it's like, yeah, sure, bad guy here, but then once you live with them and you feel accepted.
you meet him like when she met him, and then in the kitchen.
Yeah.
and then they started talking. Like
such a normal guy.
I thought in my mind, like this guy is like, she's not gonna do anything about it.
But that was I don't know if I thought that 100%, but when that just changes, when that becomes like when she just soldiers up,
Yeah,
right, like in the biggest fucking way possible, you know what I mean? Like she carried out the mission.
I feel like she only soldiered up because she was backed into the corner. And in that moment, she knew she had to do something because she was standing there. I saw her. Yeah, she glanced at the knife beforehand, right? I saw her do that. She was standing there. And then the other guy came and then confronted. She had no choice at that point. There's nothing else she could do. What was she going to do? Say no? They're not going to listen to her. They would have killed her on the spot.
I can't guarantee you that she would have just taken that opportunity to kill him.
Yeah.
Right? But she also knows that because of if she was briefed, if she gets the chance to kill the target, which was the father of the bride to be, who she was like falling in love with, because the bride to be, she just became a fucking a girl caught in the system. You know what I mean? Like she was going to be part of a harem. You know what I mean? Like after this day, like she's not going to get to be that same person. And you felt the loss of that for her. Yeah. Right? Like for however position, she was a rich, entitled person now, but she was going to lose all that because of the position of her, like women in her society, or you know, she was promised to this fucking guy. She can't do anything about it. She would be shunned and all that stuff. And then when she was bringing up her dad, like, yeah, he just sells oil. Yeah, it's messy business. I don't know, but he's not like, she wasn't even bringing him up as a terrorist. She, yeah, you know what? People might think my dad is a bad guy, but he just sells oil. Yeah, right. Like everybody sells oil. Yeah. Like what's the difference between him and like the next?
She says he sells it. He doesn't discriminate. She said he sells it to everybody.
Yeah. So like I stay out of that politics. He's my dad, and so that's your friend now. So you're right. That you're not wrong, right? But now you're coming from this fucking laptop, and but he also fund like how he gets to be in the position. He funds all that stuff. So she had that laptop ready to go to show him all the fucking things that he's like funded or approves of or whatever.
She says, "Look, you're gonna watch this video, and we're on a 3-hour flight, so you're not gonna get to it all."
It might have even been a longer flight, but that was 100% it.
It's like, holy!
And they gave you the fucking little glimpses. Like I can never watch any of that things. Yeah. Whatever. So she's seeing the people who are there, but she also knew that and they said to her, like, if you get a chance to eliminate the target by yourself, like, do it. Because 100% what's going to happen if something kind of goes wrong and do all that, we're just going to bomb the whole fucking hotel. Oh, yeah. You included. Yeah. And, like, I know this. So I think that she's also thinking she loves her friend to be or whatever. So to stop her from getting killed, if I just kill this person, then no bomb's going to happen.
That's true too.
Right? Like I could sacrifice my new love. You know what I mean? Like I could sacrifice myself by getting caught or whatever it is. She knew there was an extraction, all these things. So part of me thinks that she would have done it anyway. Why she glanced at the knife is just like, oh, I can save a lot of deaths. Yeah. By just doing this now.
That is true.
And so she's such a good soldier. This is what makes the even in Homeland or other things, like the conflict of just getting the job done and the human aspect of it, right? It's just like, yeah, like I'm like, she's a good soldier because she ultimately decides that
to do the right thing.
And she can, she can justify it as it's the right thing, but it's not to the daughter, right? Yeah. Like it's not to whatever else they have going on. But I just thought of it now. Like I know that she did it because she was backed into it, but she might have just done it anyway. She might have been like contemplating, like, this is my chance. And then because if she does that then and presses her beeper and gets out, she got scot-free. But the fact that it was a confrontation, then that becomes a harder out. Yeah. And then they're like the A-team and they can't hit her with any of the bullets. No. They're shooting for a whole hour.
I know. She got shot in the leg, I think. No, she didn't get shot. Not. She tripped. Yeah, like she got shot.
So, I mean, does that take you out of it with something like that? Because it kind of did in the moment for us, but not really.
I know that if you keep moving, there's a very slim chance that you get hit, and it's dark. So those things all play. But I remember, I think I said to Celine, I said, these guys are all freaking professionals. They're not hiring scrubs and gang members. You know what I mean? Yeah. These guys are freaking professional killers. So whatever. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. And I do agree. Maybe she would have just done it to save the death because she did love that girl apparently.
Yeah. So that's the sacrifice she knows. But, and then the most stinging thing, which is real, which I've heard a lot of songs sung about it, whatever, just like, all you did was make another generation of terrorists.
Yeah. For sure.
You're not going to change their mind. Yeah. They were at a wedding. I mean, it's like because you've heard of like drone attacks, like hitting innocent people, and it's just like, it's just stories, and this is the same story, but you're seeing it played out. It's just like, what do you think we accomplished here? Right? Like, yes, he's a bad guy. Like, and that's what all the president's right-hand men were just like, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we can't, the oil prices are going to change. Yeah. Like, this is going to happen. We control this guy. It's like, the whole, it's like a analogy for like Saddam Hussein or whatever. It's like the devil, you know what I mean? Like now, like the whole like regions in chaos and all that. And so, and then the boss of the lioness is going, you asked us to do this.
Yeah. Don't put him on the kill list then, which actually makes sense. If you really didn't want this guy dead, then take him off the list.
So
no one's forcing your hand.
Was he on the list for political, like for public relations reasons?
Who knows?
But that's
right.
so, but just like your fucking problems at our work with this guy and all that guy, that's him stepping on toes. You know what I mean? Like we did it. Now they're getting in trouble for doing their job. For sacrificing all this.
Yeah.
They don't care that she fell in love with a girl.
No.
She doesn't care. But they're just like, no, don't do this. We only did this because you asked.
Yeah.
And so you come into you come into work and go, hey, why is this built like this? Because you asked me to. And I'm telling you, be the lioness.
I'm so using that.
You know what I mean? The fucking lion. Like I see the problem here. Right. Like, and so, you know what I mean? Like you can just let the list happen and then see the consequences, or be a better person and just
sacrifice the whole building,
sacrifice your relationship with your supervisor. Right. To fucking get the best done.
I don't know about all that one.
But you're not going to get that kind of pushback. You know what I mean? Like the way I tried to describe it that I forget to now, you know what I mean? Early babblings, 49 minutes, you can listen back. That's probably what you do. You just listen back.
I should.
And you fucking say, you know what? That's not the worst thing.
Oh yeah, then I don't have to write it down.
You can listen back.
You're fucking right.
Fuck 49. Good luck. Now you have to listen to it as a podcast of your own on 45 minutes.
Oh my god. So you guys are not gonna watch Homeland, right?
Tammy already watched most of it. I don't know if she finished it. I am not.
What's most of it?
I don't know if she finished it or not. She used to watch it. I've told you, I marvel at you and Selena's amount of shows you can watch separately.
Yeah.
Tammy watches probably the same amount separately from me, but I do not watch the equal amount separately. Separate? Not because I can't, but I don't find the time, or I do other things. I don't even play video games at the time. I'm like just reading articles or fucking watching TikTok. No, watching YouTube.
You're watching TikTok.
I've never watched TikTok. Only fucking, but our ex posters will be pissed that I'm on TikTok.
Yeah.
Where are you? But I just don't find the time to do that. Yeah. When I do it, as these fucking retarded documentaries and shit on my phone at work, or America's Got Talent or something like that, which I know she could care less about. So that happened with Homeland.
Yeah.
And I don't think she'll ever go back to it.
Okay, so it doesn't matter if I spoil
You
anything.
can go nuts.
So like a lot of the comparisons that I saw was mission styles and mission types. Like a lot of those undercover thing, they're both basically part of the same government, right?
Yeah.
They're both CIA type shit. And so they were doing all the same things. And the one thing I think Lioness did better than Homeland was I can't really say the personal relationship, because she ended up having a daughter with a traitor and doing like so much shit. Like her kids got taken away, like because she was bipolar, right? She was a bipolar CIA agent who freaking was great at her job when she was on point. So I was going to say Lioness did it better, but it's hard to say. I think they were just both pretty freaking good shows.
Well, they have that similarity, it sounds like, and that's why I think it's more networky or more. This is when I didn't like any more part of it. Like even though this Lioness show had a terrorist angle, but it's so much years removed from most of the terrorist shit that was like kind of out there, and I felt it was it was just too like much of it. Like even though how much of Homeland got like praise for it or whatever, I didn't care. I didn't care who won, whatever. I didn't even care that she was. I like that idea. I even like the Mandy Patinkin guy, like from Criminal. Like I knew there was good actors in it. And I knew that. And from whatever he got
captured one time.
I remember fucking the guy from Billions. I know he ended up leaving earlier or whatever after. So I remember him being on the show and some shit in like the home life and him like. So this would be at the very beginning, like him coming back as a hero from war or a mission, and he was just like conflicted on how he kind of felt.
Well, he ended up becoming like a terrorist. He converted, and he ended up getting hung and all this shit.
So I don't.
And she had a baby with him.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so they had a baby from that, and this baby was around for like the next 2 seasons.
That whole plot point is gay to me. I don't like that.
That's why I didn't like the first 2 seasons, because I didn't want them doing that thing. But after the first 2 seasons, because I remember Brenton, shout out to Brenton, he liked the first 2 seasons. He hated the fact that guy got killed off so early.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait for him to get killed off, because a traitor to me is like the worst thing ever. Like, you know what I mean? But when she was like, when after that, and she was doing the actual balance of she's balancing her kid, like she would get like a whole bunch of shit. It's too much.
Yeah,
to
but so by this
explain.
point, you like the character. Like, so you're rooting for her in those ways. When you're saying like how she, just like how I like the other, like the soldiers and the other people, how they deal with their family. Like I'm rooting for them at that point. You're not liking the traitor or whatever, right? Like, so
Yeah.
you're invested in her at this point.
Yeah, because anytime somebody's good at what they do and they're recognized as being good, like in like something like that, just like that lioness chick, both of them were recognized as being the best in their jobs. She was the same thing, and she was like one of those. You like to use this word, undeniable. Like because she was bipolar and because they would think that she's crazy, she always had results. Her hunch was always somewhat right. And they were always reluctant to use her. They would like be like, you're out of the CIA. We can't deal with you, whatever. But they knew when it came down to the real shit that they wanted to get, they would put her in. It's like sometimes she would just disappear and not report back. And they'd be like, what is she doing? And all this political shit would go off. And then you would see the story of her finding the answers and figuring it out. And like, I would always be like, this girl's crazy. She's nuts. There's no way she's right about this. And she would stick to her guns, and then she would end up being right eventually. And so that's what I really liked. Like they just couldn't. She was just too undeniable.
So we like mostly reality shows and like other things or whatever. Like I'm trying to ask you like the pantheon of shows that you've liked.
Yeah.
Right. Like these are all these. There's more shows to think of, but just think of Homeland. Think of Sopranos.
Yeah.
Think of The Expanse.
Yeah.
But just go with those three. If you can think
Breaking
of
Bad, of course.
What?
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad. The Wire is out of my memory. I can't remember The Wire. But just, those are all four kind of different shows.
Yeah.
Is there anything in common about those things you like? Like The Sopranos has like the military aspect of the mob, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to listen to these people. You do all this. Breaking Bad is different on its own because it's like that's what makes it unique. Like the story of the teacher and like nothing to do with the criminal world. And then like how he dominates the criminal world and how like the outsider, you know what I mean? Like, and like you root for the anti-hero or whatever and like that. So I don't even know what I'm asking. Like, those kind of shows seem fewer and far between. Like I want to talk about like Big Brother and The Challenge and Survivor, and those change because they're brand new every year.
Yeah.
Like they have the similarities we like, but what is it about? Like, is there any kind of similarity with shows that non-reality shows that you end up like?
I don't think so, because I think partially I'm now I can use the word jaded because I went to school and we studied shows. So I don't really look at shows as a type of thing in common that I like. As if it's visually appealing and it doesn't sound like crap and the writing is good, I typically just freaking like it. Like Virgin River. It's freaking cheesy, but it looks great. It looks great, right? They freaking the storyline is like it's not like outlandish, but it's like this you get invested.
Romantic.
And characters will make or break a show, right?
It has to. I mean, I can't mock you for like a show I've never tried before, and respect most of what you like.
It's mine all to myself.
Yeah, see, that's hilarious. I should watch it and hate watch it. To tell you what you shouldn't like it about
that
it.
bitch is ugly.
Oh, it's cute. That's why you like the cute girl there, eh?
They're all
She
pretty
won't be a virgin
cute.
for much longer.
Right?
So yeah, I don't know why I was thinking that. You're right. Like, so The Expanse has all the visual components that Breaking Bad, Homeland, even Sopranos don't have.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's part of the draw to that. And the fantasy,
And
right?
the
You're
fantasy.
not like there's the totally differences of things or whatever. It's just like when it comes like Starfield and Grand Theft Auto, like those are two totally different like visual, like whatever, like visuals coming at you, and but there's similarities in the. That's why I asked if it's like Red Dead or Grand Theft Auto, and so it can be similar but in a different. I don't know, like there's a different. Theater or landscape or like I said, like Grand Theft Auto, it's all fantasy, but that's like, oh, it's Los Angeles, right? Like, and then like space. Like, you told me if I'm going to start to play Starfield, like you have to like space games, right, and have that. And you were surprised. So I know, like, so that's like.
Are you gonna say that you
we'll get back to TV. So I surprised the fuck out of you by saying I downloaded Starfield.
Yes.
But I couldn't get past the first fucking board.
Past it.
Before I started, I couldn't change my guy. I did the most simplest fucking thing.
Have you started it up since then?
No, I haven't. So I'm
Even
sorry.
to try and check if the button works?
You don't understand. You understand because I tell you, but you really don't understand why I haven't been able to start it up again. Deep down,
are you
don't
talking about
understand.
time wise?
Yeah.
No. I completely get it because sometimes I go months without playing a game that I want to play.
Okay.
Like I have Game Pass and I can play all the games on Game Pass that I want, but I just don't have the time to do it sometimes.
But when I say to you, okay, that's not the right. But when I say to you that I downloaded it, I tried it, and I haven't got back, you're like, "What do you mean? Did you?" The first time I told you like on a Tuesday,
Yeah.
he was like, "Did you play yesterday?" It's like, Brian,
Yeah.
didn't you just fucking hear me? Like, no, I don't have. It was like you just wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
You kind of understand.
Yeah.
But you like it so much, you don't understand. It's like, how could you just start? How do you not play for an hour and a half each time you play? Is my question or your question? I'm guessing.
Well, I haven't told you what I really feel about the game yet.
Am I just assuming all this?
Yeah, because I play it a lot. As you're assuming I like
Okay,
it,
maybe.
which
Oh.
makes sense.
Well, now, so you don't like it?
I like.
You
the
brought
game.
it up as a morality question in one of the things.
Yes.
So it must. So yeah, you're right. Maybe I'm assuming because you don't do that all the time.
Yeah. So I like the game in general. Like I like aspects of the game. I think that's what it is. I think I like aspects of the game, and as I play the game now, I'm just choosing to do those things.
Yeah.
Like I have not advanced the main story compared to me just being caught randomly doing random shit and like I'm freaking smuggling contraband and shit just because, you know what I mean? And those interactions is what I haven't even really the writing of the game, which is usually what I enjoy most, like when it comes to like Red Dead and when it comes to Grand Theft Auto, the storylines and other games I've played, I haven't enjoyed that aspect of the game yet.
So there's not fair for me to think that you would know that already in the middle of a game.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm such a fucking noob, like Bond, but to me, nothing can compare to Red Dead or Grand Theft Auto. In a way, like Red Dead 2 might be a better storyline than Grand Theft Auto.
Possibly.
It could be sacrilege. Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, they're living on the shoulders.
Honestly, it's Rockstar, and that's what literally they do the best.
And this is, yeah. So, I mean, that's why I'm comparing it to. But like you said, like it's like a good TV show. Like it's the writing. It's not so much like the action of jumping on a horse and doing all that. Like, you know what I mean? Or whatever. Like, like hunting or just doing ridiculous missions to, you know what I mean? Like steal a wagon from behind a fucking thing, like in the middle. But when you're in it and you're like in the middle of like a downtown fucking like Wyoming or whatever it is in like 18th, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like you start to feel it. When I was playing it, like the horse's hooves, every time I heard it, like I just felt a certain way.
Yeah.
And the promise of a game like Starfield, it's like, oh my God, you can do that to me in space. Like first you do it to me on the streets of LA.
Yeah.
And you do it to me in like Red Dead, and then but it's not Rockstar, so it's stupid for me to think it.
But it is Bethesda, and they do make.
Well,
great
this is my
games.
ignorance because I'm only in the most
Rockstar
mainstream of
world?
mainstream.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's not like I'm in the Rockstar world. Those have just appeal to me.
Well, in terms of mainstream, they are the king of mainstream games in this genre.
You know why? Maybe, and this is what you even said with the Starfield. Why it can work is that it's because you can either do the main mission. Or you can just do whatever.
Yeah.
And we were talking. I've never done GTA Online, and it's because of my it's because of my biasness of playing online. But there's a niche for a player like me to do stuff like heists by myself or do other things. It just doesn't have that storyline that I'm always so used to.
Yeah.
I went from Pac-Man and Galaga with no storyline to storylines to Mario storylines to GTA, and just now I think everything is like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not like savvy enough or in the game world to realize that distinction. And of course, like these other games have it, and that's why they become gems. You know what I mean, or whatever it is for their own different reasons, like TV shows. And so, it's not that I'm. See, it's also it says video games and shows. Like you said, you binge the shows. It's sometimes it's just something catches you. Right, like it might be the beginning of the game where you can't wait to advance, and then maybe it becomes monotonous, or you care less about the mission. And it's just like, what else? These new games and whatever the older games like we just talked, they have these other side things you can do. And what the genius of online is, now you're a role player. You can just be a fucking garbage man, or do other. Like it becomes like a Sims world, right? Like how you can do it. And it's why not? Why not take advantage of all that kind of fucking thing? And when I'm reading about this online, because it's all new to me, I haven't done it, but it's just like, oh, there's like real world scams online. Like there's real world DJs playing in virtual clubs, like they do in shit like Second Life. Like why would I go and I love the GTA world. Let's go do it in that, right? And so I've never I can even say found the time. I've just never bothered. But what happens with a show and a game is there's a turning point. you can all of a sudden get hooked, and then you can't stop thinking about it.
Yep. And that was me with Starfield ever since that moral dilemma.
Yeah, but now you're saying maybe not.
Because that wasn't part of the main mission. That just fucking happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
like,
right. That was a side mission.
Yeah, it was a side mission. It just happened. I just happened to be on a planet, or like was this part of the main mission? No, this was not part of the main mission. I went to go find a guy, and it was a scientist. And his ship there was like a rumor of his ship being like among this asteroid belt. And so you're flying through this asteroid belt, like freaking looking for his ship. And then he starts attacking you. You can you blow up the ship, or you can like disable it by destroying the engines. I disable it and I go in the ship and he commits suicide. What the fuck?
Have you ever received accolades for that moral dilemma that you did, right? Have you seen a statue built of yourself yet?
No, but you know what? I did come across them again.
Yeah, I knew you would.
And I was like freaking, it was like random as well. They were just saying, oh, hey, we want to thank you again for everything. And they reiterated that they want to build a statue of me. And they said what planet they were going to and all this shit. They were in space. I'm like, holy crap. Like, you just didn't even think about it.
So for sure that's going to happen again later.
I guarantee I'm going to see him one more time.
And, so, I mean, I don't know. It's not said. So I tried to play the game. Like I loaded it up and then I went to go play it. And like, it's because I like watching football and fucking doing other shit. And I'll try to squeeze time. Yeah. But the reason I couldn't play it is because I can't play first player game, like first person shooters.
Yep.
And the promise is like, I can change it to the third person, but I couldn't get it to change. And I haven't tried since. So I'm hoping that I reset it and I hope I have something really intangible to fucking talk about of it or whatever. Yeah. My first initial thoughts of the game were lots of potential. Like even though I'm just in the mines and I hear like the kind of story, like the graphics are so good.
They're pretty good, yeah.
Like I mean, I know they're like maybe not the greatest, but they're just
not mind blowing, but they are pretty
like
good.
You do get involved. Like it has the beginning of the hook. Yeah. Like I don't like the hook I was talking about. Some games you right away know I could care less.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how many games do you start and you do like. I'll just make this a stupid example. I like playing like retro games because I'm retro and I'll do that. And so you can just like have our whole arcade of stuff. And then they have like a different version of a Pac-Man or or something. And it's like, oh, that should work. And then you're just like, this does not work.
Yes.
Like I don't like any of the controls. I don't like any of this.
Oh, that's annoying.
None of the story. And just so there's too many games out there. I'll just give up.
Yeah.
And I'll just like fucking delete it and all that kind of things. I've done it with a bunch of racing games where it's like there's millions out there, so it's hit or miss. Mm-hmm. You're either going to love it or whatever. And then you just realize, I should have just stuck with Forza. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Or then I'll bring back the GTA. My buddy said, you want the best racing game? GTA.
Yeah.
Like and then it becomes undeniable because like
one of the best. I mean, Horizons is kind of better now.
It depends on what you're looking for. As far as response to the car, as far as like the like you know what I mean? Like the streets
the graphics?
Like no, Forza
Forza Horizons?
Yeah, listen, I know it's a fake city, but like you're on that map. Like the longer you play GTA, like again, same with Forza. The Forza map was more all over the place.
Yeah.
I didn't live in that world as long as you can live in. And the worst is Red Dead Redemption because you're on a fucking horse, so you see everything.
Everything.
Like you can't just zip by.
Yeah.
Right. Like and so like it definitely have that hook. But like the same with the TV shows, which is why I bring it back to maybe some of our reality shows. Are you caught up with any of the reality shows? Like. You were really back behind on Big Brother.
I still think we're pretty behind on Big Brother, maybe a couple episodes. The challenge, we haven't watched the last episode, which was what, today or yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah, so yeah, we're one episode behind on the
challenge is killing it.
I love that show, man.
Even for the downgraded version that's on now.
Yeah, this one's way better than last USA season. Way better.
True.
Way better.
Why?
This is more MTV challenge-esque. The other ones seemed like they were just always on a building or always on a thing. Like this one seemed like they're like,
that seems
okay,
true.
So that model did work. Well, they probably had great ratings.
Did you ever watch like the UK or the Australia?
No.
You watched the Worlds.
I watched the Worlds, I watched the US and
so we
MTV.
watched the Australia and the Canadian one, and those were even way worse.
Yeah.
Like those were kindergarten versions of even the one you're like talking about.
Yeah.
So what do you think the reason is that this one is better? Like, I think I have an opinion on it, but I know I have an opinion, but what makes it better to you? Is it just a better challenges?
I think the challenges is done better. I think they realize that it's not a waste of money. I think the first season was more of a test, right? And I think that the same second season is where they can put more money into it.
That might be
Because
true.
the challenges are better and bigger, right? The cast is way better.
So that was going to be
Way
my answer.
better.
My answer was going to be the cast.
And you're not going to bring the cast on. Like some of those cast members, like the vets, are getting paid regardless. They're not getting paid They're not getting
well,
paid
you look
just
at a
'cause of
Fessy and a
winnings.
Josh and a Bananas and a West.
Don't
and like,
ever
this
say
is their
Josh's
job now.
name. Don't say Josh's name.
But they part of it.
No, he's not part of it.
He's fucking.
He will never be a real challenger. That's what Wes said. He will never be a real challenger to me.
He's only going to eat his words.
Do you think so?
No,
I don't think so.
because I hate him too.
I
I,
know you
really
do.
do.
I know you
So
do.
I had a conversation. So I know. So between Josh and Fessy, who do we hate more?
Josh.
Tammy doesn't. Tammy can't
Why?
stand Fessy
Well,
because of his arrogance.
I can see that. I can see why you would hate a Fessy, right? But
No,
then-
you don't have to agree to me. I hate Josh way more than Fessy.
Oh no, I know you do. I know we
but
have the
she
same
doesn't. We just
feelings
talked
on
about it yesterday.
and I can see why you would hate a Fessy because the arrogance is annoying. But the difference is he performs.
You
right?
can't like
Josh
Bananas.
doesn't perform.
You can't like Bananas and dislike Fessy. They're the same people, just different 20 years apart.
Yeah,
They're not
yeah.
the same people because I like Johnny way better than
And
Fessy.
he can actually win.
He does
the
it. Yeah,
challenge.
but he's such a fuck. If you don't like Bananas, I bet you just can't stand Bananas. If not you, but if there's somebody, because he's got so much airtime and he's just as cocky. We've
Yep.
seen him back it up for 7 different
Yep,
championships.
exactly.
But really, like that's only because he's done 40 shows.
Fessy's not there yet.
I know,
And
but
I don't know if he'll ever be a Johnny level challenger.
so what makes this cast better is even with the Josh type, is it's like they've matured into a better viewing, for better viewing. Like they're not as raw as and so the raw people they're coming up with, like the Michaela and like the Cassie. Like I fucking loved Cassie on Survivor.
Mhm.
Like she's a white chick who gets thrown in all the time.
Yeah.
And she's not a part of like everybody else's alliance. And so that's what makes some people like great. Even like the Tyler guy from Big Brother.
Yeah.
He's just a chill dude with the fucking like long curly hair. And just
I
like
liked him
he
too.
doesn't fit into the fucking dog eat dog world.
Yeah.
But he's a really good challenger.
Well, you're gonna have to get dog eat dog.
Well,
in
but
this
that's what I
show.
mean. They learn. They
They do learn.
in the challenge more than these other things because the same people come back on together. Like Big Brother, it's always a new cast. Survivor, it's always a new cast. The challenge, it's like a reoccurring cast,
Yep.
and it becomes their job.
Yep.
And so some of them are like doing it because it's going to be their job, or some of them are just like, whatever, just like they're reality TV people, so they get like brought into these things, and they don't like the first USA was like they have no idea what the challenge is. They disrespect the best show on
Yeah,
TV.
I know. What the fuck?
So which one do you think you would do? I think I know. If you could do, I know you don't watch Survivor that much. I try to
Yep.
get you to do this so you could care that, but I'm going to throw it in there. Like, and you don't watch Amazing Race at all either.
No.
You know what it's about, type of thing.
Yeah,
Right? It's nothing
yeah.
to do with it like this. It's like just teams against teams, but not competing. Occasionally they do each other, but it's just a race.
Yeah.
And you got obstacles to do, and it's all around the world. It's just how good you can travel with like a partner, type of thing. But as part of my question, Big Brother, Survivor, Amazing Race, or the Challenge, which one would you do?
Which one would I actually do?
Okay, it's two. Which one would you think you'd be the best at, and which one would you want to do the most?
I would want to do the challenge the most. I think the prestige of winning the challenge is higher than any of those other shows, right?
You're discounting Big Brother.
I'm
Or-
not
no.
discounting-
You're discounting Survivor, I think. But you're in a way, you're right.
I mean, yes, I am discounting Survivor because the Survivor challenges don't even compare to a daily challenge on the challenge. They don't. These guys are jumping off cliffs.
You're right.
These guys are freaking jumping off moving
You're right.
trucks. So
Yeah.
but
I'll give Survivor challenges a B+ and an A+ for
the
this
standard.
challenge.
The standard.
Survivors
is-
are B-.
Yes.
But as political as challenges, I'm not saying your answer is right because it's your answer. Is that so? Just one.
No. That's what I would like to do. I would probably do Big Brother over all of them.
Is your politician in you? Does that
Yes.
think that your skills come together most?
I think Big Brother has the best balance of your political game affecting you as much as your winning challenges affecting you. On like the challenge, for example, your political game is really minimized. Yes, it can help you, but at the end of the day, if you win shit, you're basically fine.
So on Survivor and the challenge, if there's a chance for you and me to have to count on you in a future thing or like teamed up, I'm going to want to get rid of weak people so I'm not shared with them.
Mhm.
Like in Big Brother, strong people like really have to protect themselves because they can go. Their strength really only enhances them,
Mhm.
right? And other than the political like relationships that you make, but you're always going to like. It's very hard to be so good politically.
Mhm.
Like in those games, people are never good as what they
Yes.
are. And when it happens in random things.
Absolutely.
Like Big Brother. So for me personally, because of physical limitations, it would be Big Brother. I think because you can have like Cerise and fucking Felicia's and all those things that can not be the most physically dominant. And then if there is a physically dominant, like the Thai kid who won Big Brother Canada,
Yeah.
he was an asshole to everybody.
Yeah.
But he won his way there.
Absolutely.
And then people wanted him to win because they respected him. In Big Brother, a guy like Josh wins because the people hate the guy beside him so much.
Yes.
Right? Like there's that guy Paul with a big beard
Yeah.
who won, but he never won because he just rubbed a couple people the wrong way. People in the jury of Big Brother get butthurt and they get to decide. Same with Survivor. If you get butthurt too much, so you have to play this ultimate politician where this is why you're butthurt.
Yeah.
This is why, yes, you got used, but I don't know how you explain yourself, but you have to explain your worthiness. And more, if you're not good, like a floater can win Big Brother because they just didn't make somebody angry at them.
Yep.
They don't give it. There's no judge to deserve that you made the best Lego piece or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you crossed the finish line first. So I think, but like that's what makes it a better. Like that's why I don't like Big Brother compared to those other ones. The Amazing Race is totally different. You have to do kind of these challenges. Like it's. You're thrown into such a foreign, like, because you're going to different countries, you're thrown into the most chaotic situation you can. Like you're navigating fucking a cab in fucking Manila, or you know what I mean, like whatever, Bangladesh or something like that. Or but then they also have bungee jumping off of fucking long things or doing these crazy things. And all your bad quality, you and me are driving and we fucking got our yeah, we're bros, we fucking do that, we're great. So it's like, how fast are you gonna get mad at me for reading the map wrong, or like turning left or not right, or me not being able to put a fucking bouquet of flowers together in the right way. Right? It just seems, and just like, you know, like I mean, like it's the personal relationships you make are within your own team.
Yeah.
You don't have to be liked by other people.
Yeah.
And those other ones. So, but the challenge, I think, my days have passed. I've never wanted to prove myself that physically.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I would be great.
Yeah. Well, you like proving yourself more than I think I do.
Yeah.
That's why I think you would pick the challenge.
I'm very competitive when it comes to certain things.
If I could, in that same way, I'd like to think I could do that Amazing Race, because to be forced to do all those things in different countries and have that and be challenged like that, like it's more in my wheelhouse as where I am now. But I never I don't think I would beat Fessy in a hall brawl. Like I don't want to try to prove you know what I mean? Like not that I'm scared.
The thing. That's why I think it's crazy, because that's why I think it's so good, because you have to not only like you said, they're reoccurring characters, right? And so you have to go on this show expecting that you're going to go up against some certain veterans or some people who are way bigger than you, right? Or some people who are smarter than you. And you are going on this show already knowing this, if you've seen the show before, right? And then on top of that, you still have to be a politician. And then on top of that, you're going to do the hardest things you ever do in your life.
True.
And just even, that's why the people who get on the show who are willing to do it get a little respect from me. Josh gets, it's like a little, like, can you see between my fingers?
Yeah.
He gets like that much.
We're on the
because
same page.
He goes back. He
So
tries.
you like Josh?
No, don't ever. No. But I loved this season where he came on. He's looking a little buff and stuff. He's like, yeah, this is going to be my season. I'm going to do the best. I'm like, shut the fuck up, Josh. You're not going to do nothing. You're like Corey.
So you know what? I had more. You know, it's like Corey. Even Corey's gotten a little bit better.
Yeah, he has. He's not going to win shit.
So how did we ever turn into a place that's full of hard outs?
I don't know. We're busy.
But if we could sign off now, like I said, I don't know if I've kept you here too long.
All right, I will. Thank you guys for listening to the Work Related Podcast.
I'm going to Florida next week, so we'll try to do a disjointed Zoom one. But very worst scenario, we'll see you guys in 3 weeks.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll see you in a couple. Thanks, everybody.
Later.